There was a time when the Walt Disney Company, under the direction of Reimagine Tomorrow, was working tirelessly to erase any and all references to Walt Disney's Song of the South, with all of their efforts culminating in the destruction of Walt Disney World's highest rated attraction, Splash Mountain. And with all of these closures, removals, and reimaginings, the future of Tokyo Disneyland's version of the beloved log flume remained uncertain. Fortunately, the Japanese version of Splash Mountain has survived yet another summer from being thrust into the briar patch, even as the Walt Disney Company pushes Tiana's Bayou Adventure in any way they can. Let's talk about the most recent developments surrounding Tokyo Disneyland's version of the laughing place beneath Chickapin Hill here on That Park Place.
Apparently, Disney is trying really hard to get people to notice Tiana's Bayou Adventure, while someone else is working very hard to keep Splash Mountain alive. Look at this.
The last thing, Jonas, the last thing I would ever do is get in a plane that has Tiana's Bayou Adventure on it, given how often that ride breaks.
Yeah. The uptime record is not strong for Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
It's a bad omen. Also, Alaska Airlines for the Bayou.
Chancing Bay.
Yeah, Splash Mountain was not really known for going down on a regular basis. It was not a headline. And now that it's been redone, that is the only thing that Tiana's Bayou Adventure is known for right now. Because it's not for the animatronics, because the animatronics are still currently falling apart, even though these are things that cost easily six figures. We theorized when the Walt Disney World version came out that, well, there's something about the Florida climate that they weren't expecting because they designed them in Burbank. And the Anaheim version of the ride suffering the same problems as well. This is not a ride that anyone really talks about other than that one guy who pumps the numbers up that says, oh, I wrote it 12 times today. And on this one, somebody said something inappropriate. Oh, on another one, I wrote it with celebrities. Like at this point, the most interesting thing about the ride is not the ride itself. There is a rumor.
Video.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, there it is. There's the slice in Lewis's neck.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting design choice to have a felt alligator in a mostly humid environment as well. The rumor going around has been, and if you follow That Park Place, you've probably been aware of this, that Tokyo Disneyland not really a fan of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And we've heard that Disney has even offered to pay for a retheme of their version of Splash Mountain to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We've also heard that they've threatened to remove the rights for Zippity Doo-Dah, which most people don't even associate Zippity Doo-Dah with Splash Mountain or Song of the South, because that movie has been out of print for 40 years now. But Tokyo has an interesting little news announcement today. Tokyo Disneyland has announced the return of Splash Mountain's summer version, confirming the ride is still not closing. Look at that iconic Chickapin Hill up there. I've heard from some people that it's supposed to look like a bunny rabbit's ears. I don't know. But I love this because the translation is "Get Soaked Max," which feels like a very defiant statement from the Japanese people over there at the Oriental Land Company. Which, by the way, I've heard from multiple Disney executives that American Disney tried to tell the Oriental Land Company, owned by the Japanese people in charge of that, oh, you need to change that name out of the Oriental Land Company. It's offensive to the Japanese.
Did they really?
They really did. Yes.
I'm telling you, you're offended.
Anyways, while the American side is getting rid of Splash Mountain altogether, shutting down a perfectly good attraction, by the way, the most popular attraction in the world, according to surveys, over there in Japan, they're agreeing that it's most popular, and they're adding in a special version of Splash Mountain that gets you even more wet. Why does Tokyo have all the best stuff? That's what I want to know.
Well, they're in the business of actually attracting guests, rather than just giving guests slop and expecting them to show up. And that's exactly what Tiana's by Adventure is, and that's not consistent, let's say, with Tokyo's business model. The Oriental Line Company, which OLC, I guess, it has historically been very, very fiscally conservative. I'll put it that way, and we have seen, Jonas, actually, by their investments, let's say in Fantasy Springs recently, by amazing reporting by Caroline Reed, that even when you spend the money and you do something that's really spectacular in a place that should support it, sometimes these things go astray. Sometimes you don't necessarily get it right, even in Tokyo, and financially that resort is having problems because of that, and that's really unfortunate. So the idea that they were going to take out one of their best, I would assume to be one of their best surveyed rides in the form of Splash Mountain for Tiana's by Adventure or anything else, I don't think the Oriental Line Company was ever going to go along with that.
I think it's a fair point. I've also heard that the merchandise over there is suffering as well. There's so much of an interesting dynamic here. I think from everything I understand, Japan does not jump on a big retheme unless they're absolutely sure that it's going to work, and that matches culturally with what I've heard out of Japan. They have a model here where the American model, the bottom of the company can suggest an idea and the top of the company is expected to listen, which I think is not a great plan most of the time. Sometimes it can work. You can you can have the org chart can be flat and things can still work out. In Japan, they have a model where if an idea comes from the bottom, they have to work out all of the plans and then introduce it to the next level up, and then it integrates them into it and they refine the plan. And if an idea gets all the way to the top of the company, it's almost perfected, or what they think is perfect, and then it's a go or it's not a go. I don't know if I'm explaining this concept well, but in an American company, you might say have a talentless hack activist who says that you need to get rid of one of your most iconic attractions and says, you know what, here is the only black person we have ever heard of, Tiana. And so let's retheme this entire ride to her, and also make sure that anyone who enjoys the previous ride, we need to make sure that we paint them in an awful light as we tear apart a working attraction that's popular and replace it with, well, a nearly blank experience with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Forgive me, I'm a little salty on this one today. Splash Mountain was a Campbell family favorite here, even though I restricted the kids from riding it. As a native Floridian, I always say you wait till the end of the day to do the wet rides, so you don't end up walking around Walt Disney World in wet shorts all day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I have found that you end up drying off very quickly after Splash Mountain just because of how humid it is in Orlando. But yeah, I agree.
That makes it worse, though. That makes it worse just from a practical standpoint. I don't know.
It definitely
Trish,
makes it worse.
Did you ever get the opportunity to ride Splash Mountain before they rethemed it?
No, I've never actually been to a Disney park ever.
Amazing.
I've never been to Florida, so
I know we got to fly her out at some point.
Yeah, Marv wants to change that, so
I think that's a great plan.
I mostly want to bring her to Universal because it's Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's the hook that he's got.
Yeah, and those Harry Potter lands, even if you're not into theme parks, the Harry Potter stuff is spectacular. Disney is because of what they still have left there is still amazing on some level. I don't know if it's $200 a day amazing, but it's amazing. When we look at things like this, I like that Japan is almost over there as like a museum to say all of the best things out of the American Disney parks. They're just holding on to them. By the way, they actually maintain them, so they were in better shape than the American ones by the time that it closed down. Vash, do you think that there's actually any chance at this point that they will shut down Splash Mountain in Tokyo?
I think it's becoming less and less likely every single day. I think there was some real risk initially, especially when Tiana's by Adventure had not opened, and the company was very enthusiastic about removing any elements of Song of the South from any of their attractions, from any of their parks, any references and so forth. They were like, we're going to scrub it. We're going to do all this. We're going to change the culture here at the Walt Disney Company and how we project our image, right? And so, especially in the wake of a lot of the Reimagine Tomorrow stuff, a lot of the DEI initiatives that they had, it was like there was real enthusiasm for that, and that's why I think they were so gung ho about having Tokyo change out their version. Which, by the way, CLIFFLIX'S with this footage over there. Definitely check out his channel to see all this video and more with his "I flew all the way to Tokyo to ride Splash Mountain again" video. Very, very cool stuff. But they were very enthusiastic about that, and I think the Oriental Land Company received a lot of pressure because of that. But thankfully, when Tiana's Bite Adventure opened, and the massive amount of pushback that they received all the way until that attraction did open, and then I think everybody coming out of that experience was like, "Wow, that's really subpar." And I think that really, let's say the enthusiasm fell off, like when you're crashing down into the Briar Patch, for example, just really fell off a cliff there. And now we are seeing the company once again kind of realign itself to match the culture. And so I think paying $200-300 million to Oriental Land Company in order to facilitate a transformation like this, I just don't know if the company is all that enthusiastic about that idea.
I wouldn't. If I were Japan, I would hold on to this for as long as possible, hoping that the American side can maybe get their act together. Well, maybe not the Japanese side, hoping the Americans will get it together, because it seems like over there's a tourism from U.S. theme park enthusiasts over to Japan that's growing and developing. I wonder if the Disney American side is aware of how many people are saying, no, go to Japan. It's actually good. And Disney Sea, of course, being the jewel of the theme park industry there. By the way, CLIFFLIX'S video is great. And I noticed he's wearing a SIG hat in the video itself. I wonder if that might be a shout out to Valiant Renegade.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.